come to our final matchup of the day. One team looking to take a trip on their favorite rocket ship, but they just might not be able to breathe all the way to the top in outer space. It's Space Station against Oxygen Esports. I'm Jacob, he's Jesse, that's Connor. One final game to figure out who amongst the top two teams in the league is actually going to retain that number one position. On one side, OXG yet to lose a match, and on the opposite side, Space Station very hot on their heels.
Yeah, this is the battle of the Titans. The top two teams in the North American League going head-to-head to figure out who will likely end up with that number one seed. It's not guaranteed, but let's be realistic. The winner of this game will almost certainly finish first in the league. So it's going to be a barn burner for sure. Oxygen and Space Station. Let's find out who's going to win.
Yeah, it's always a good game, too. These two teams, they have fabled history of 7-5s or 8-7.
It's the stuff of a legend.
It's always just a gritty game that goes down to the very end. And it's never clean. And we got Siege when it's clean. It's not really fun unless you see like a surgical 7-0 where you see the best strats ever. I like seeing the 7-5s where it's just 1v1s and just hard matchups.
Well, in order to help set the stage for this brawl of the two behemoths, we do have to remind you, OXG yet to lose a game thus far, 4-0, and a lot of people have been touting this matchup online as if OXG win, they're probably going undefeated for the rest of the stage based upon their play. But if Space Station were to win, this also could be OXG's only loss theoretically leading into the major. Both teams are looking to see if they can secure their spots over the course of the next couple of weeks. They can probably even confirm that very soon, relatively. Do you think there's a shot for OXG to actually get 5-0 over some very steep competition?
Yeah, I mean, we're realistically looking at a scenario where, especially if they win this, they could go flawless throughout the entire season, and that would be something hot to be able to jump in on. So for Oxygen Esports, this is a big game for them. Even if they're going to the major, probably either way, they want to make that statement.
Yeah, and with the big three, you know, the core that's always been Oxygen, Reciprocity, Laxing, Foxay, Vert. Every single game that we have seen so far from this roster, one of those three has like absolutely popped off. I'm talking like 15 kills, going absolutely crazy and taking over matches in its entirety.
Yeah, it's crazy how quickly they move from like one roster to another. Like they just made a roster move, and they look so good with Dream and Newers coming in as well. Even before that, when they first brought in Kino and Yaga, as soon as they made that change, those rosters started to gel. And I think you got to give a lot of credit both to the three core players that you just brought up, as well as the support staff. Hopes and Redeemer doing so much for Auction. I had a little chat with Hopes the other day, and he talked about you know how nice this team looks when they're able to bring some new players in. So really excited with OXG coming into this game, and yeah, they should be able to put up a good fight.
Already at this point, I'm convinced we don't really have to talk about Yaga and Kino anymore. They've already made enough of a statement, this team has, with Dream and Newers on it, that whatever remnant we have of the past is kind of a nice reminder of what could have been. Maybe that OXG team could have gotten somewhere, but it looks like this squadron just cannot be stopped because Newers, he said it himself in the interview, he's just a different kind of guy. He's a new breed. No one's really seen someone with this playstyle before, and it feels like Dream is slotting in perfectly to give Foxay the kind of like relief he needed to shift back into a vertical role.
The thing I like about this Auction squad is that everybody plays a role, and they all play that role to a T. They become very structured with the way that they've created their new roster. It seems like everyone on this team is good at something. Let's take a look at some stats. First, you got Laxing, 56% survival rate, the best in the entire league. Then you got Dream, the support, 7 plants, also the best in the league. Then you've got Newers, 9-3 on entry. He's the first person in the building, the best in the league. Vertical, 42-21, a 2.0 KD over 4 games, the best in the league. And then you got Foxay, the cutest R6 player in not just the league, globally. You've got
someone like Leon Gids about to try and come for that title. Though.
Hey, listen.
To be fair, if we had like an actual pole battle in this regard, I'm pretty sure some other people would be like clamoring for that spot.
Well, regardless, Fox I think is up there for sure. And the other thing I like about Fox, whether he doesn't have the stats maybe quite as tight as the other teammates, the IGL work has been fantastic from Fox so far. I had, as I mentioned, a talk with Hopes, and he talked about how like in that one game that they played against Beast Coast, they were really almost struggling at the beginning because they didn't know exactly how Beast Coast were going to go on attacks. They recognized, however, that they were going a little bit slow, and then Fox made the decision, yo, let's go for flanks, let's start getting aggressive, and that really turned the game on its head. So it's little moments like that that Fox can really bring to the team, and with everybody else playing their best, Auction are seemingly unbeatable.
Yeah, and the biggest thing is you were saying that they still look structured because everybody has their job, but it's the overall buying into a system as 5 individuals that's creating this giant, terrifying, scary oxygen machine that can just apply itself to almost any map. You don't even necessarily have to talk about maps with this team. It's just an overall team that can go anywhere and find success.
I wanted to pick your brain on this actually because you've had the chance to analyze and to cast Newers at certain points, right? Before his entire call up to the haven that is Tier 1. Anything specific about his play that, like, other than the crazy statistics that really inspired you or that you think OXG wanted to grab him for this?
I honestly thought he was cheating. CJ said it when he was here. I thought he was cheating because nobody in their right mind should ever have as much confidence as he has, even with no intel. And when you buy him into a system that once again shows like, hey, if we get a drone in front of this kid, he will go 1 for 1 at worst.
Yeah.
At worst, he will get his kill, he will open up the round. And then on defense, you can just kind of throw him to the wolves and he'll come back the leader of the pack. I
think the best thing you can say about this team is they're already this good, this top tier with new blood in the roster. It's like they've been doing this for years. And it might be us, drinking the Kool-Aid a little bit, maybe getting ahead of ourselves. But what we're seeing right now is a team that has had dominant wins over the world champions and several other top competitors. Newers, hey, that's my cameraman.
Oh no.
What's wrong with you, dude? And the energy that this team has been infested. Like, there's suddenly a whole bunch more energy that didn't exist on this team prior. We thought they were, a bunch of goofballs that were fantastic at Rainbow Six, but now that exact kind of thing has been amplified here.
Nice little thing about this squad is that, well, they finally get to test their mettle against the best in the league other than themselves. Because when they go up against Spacestation Gaming, they're going to have to deal with some really tough competition. SSG is obnoxiously good at turning man disadvantages back against their opponents. And this is something that, again, I talked with Hopes about, and he said this is what they're concerned about. They need to be on their game 24/7. They cannot let the ball slip. Because if you give SSG anything, they will claw back. They will make sure that the round goes back in their favor.
Well, Spacestation themselves are certainly no slouches. The guys only have 1 loss to their name. That was a game they very nearly clawed back against Astralis on Border. So new map syndrome maybe not working in their favor thus far. However, still feels as though the team that was first knocked out from North America's representatives at the Six Invitational is getting back into the same group. Domestically, we've always called them best of 1 kings. OXG seemingly coming for that title now, but I'm not really concerned about Spacestation at this point unless someone here wants to differ.
I still think Spacestation are a phenomenal team. You have the most experience for a reason because these players have just been through the ringer. You can't really catch them off guard, and any single tells on their of their opponents, they're going to be able to find. You were talking about those little tiny gaps that teams can leave, single slight mistakes. Somebody like Bosco, somebody like Rampy, somebody like Fultz are going to take full advantage of that, press the issue, and just make you shatter.
I want to highlight that first name you just mentioned. Bosco is the worst rated player on SSG, and literally every note I've taken of him so far is a positive note about Bosco. He's 3-0 on entry. He had 100% cost against TSM. He's really been putting in the work and making himself look like a world-class support, despite the fact they just got onto this role. I talked with Skies a little bit about why they changed that up, why they moved Skies to the flank watch and Bosco to the hard breach, and he told me that Bosco has kind of wanted to IGL for a while. He wants to be able to contribute to the team in that way, and it seems like doing that from the hard breach perspective has just made it so much easier and made the team so much more complete.
So when we're talking about maps for both these squads, is there some similarity that we're kind of hoping for? Maybe we just kind of get thrown onto a battleground that we've yet to see thus far for either of these squads, or do we try something that's old hat so far through this stage of the NAL?
Honestly, it's hard to tell. I think at first we're just going to see kind of the scraggler maps that aren't necessarily any overlap of the Venn diagram.
I mean, I was going to say real quick that I thought we might end up on Oregon, and SSG went and first banned that. So against their toughest opponents this stage, they might be pulling out something spicy.
Maybe, just maybe, but then the bank, Oxygen, we haven't really seen them go towards it. That's an SSG map. They're feeling pretty good on that. As well as Villa, SSG, they found success on that all throughout different areas, SI, Sweden Major, NAL finals.
For sure.
But with SSG kind of clapping back, new map syndrome once again. Not going to go to Skyscraper, haven't shown anything for that towards either of these rosters. And then the Clubhouse going down that's kind of always the old favorite for SSG.
Kafe, Chalet, and Border, the final 3. Border instantly taken out. This is an odd map pool because it seems like all of these maps don't favor at least one of the teams. Border is one that Spacestation lost already against Astralis, the only map they've lost so far. But by banning it, they've left Kafe in the pool, which presumably OXG will go ahead and choose to play because Chalet has not been their friend. Here we go. Kafe game. It's been a pretty good map for Auction. Most teams banned it against them for SI. They beat M&M, did drop it to MIBR in Sweden. However, you look at Space Station. On Kafe, they banned it 5 out of 7 matches they played at the 6th Invitational, and they should have banned it 7 times. 2 games that it slipped through the pool. They ended up losing 7-4 to Empire, 7-5 to FaZe. This has not been a Space Station map in recent times. Clearly, this is a play from Like It and the boys to kind of throw OXG off, bring them to a map they're not expecting, and perhaps pull the wool over their eyes and get a win.
I just remember that time that they played it against Empire at the 6th Invitational and that 2-0 in the upper bracket, and I went, why did you decide to take Empire to this map? But they're kind of hoping that the first time that we actually see Kafe in this stage is one that shifts in their favor. And now we need to get some predictions out of the way. So I'm going to chuck it over to Carter Hannefeld and the guy who thought that Hot and Cold was actually getting subbed out by Lycan in this matchup before we got started.
Yeah, dude, I
in
can't.
Jay's Wills. Gentlemen, what are you thinking for this game?
Listen, there was some trolling happening on Twitter.
Yeah.
I can't believe you fell for that hook, line, and sinker,
Maybe
dude.
we got pranked a little bit. It's okay. That was the intent.
Okay, listen. I'm not saying that I might have fallen for it, but it's my first day, okay? Like, I got to take an L at some point.
All right.
This was the time. So, at least for me,
Yep.
Joni might disagree. Obviously, SSG, as Connor said, one of the most experienced teams in the league. They got a 9-map pool. They can do it all. However, OXG are 4-0, and even as good as SSG are, I think this is going to be the time where OXG, I think they have a fight. I think they're going to face a challenge, but I just don't see how this roster that is working so well together is gonna suddenly have their sales cut today. I'm going OXG. I think it's gotta be. It's gonna be close, but it's gotta be.
I am inclined to agree with you, and I see that SSG is probably at this point they're definitely the most likely team to deliver OXG their first L. But looking at how this OXG roster has played over the last few playdays, I mean, everything on this roster is going perfectly. It's all clicking. How can you beat a team where everything that they could possibly set up for this season is going exactly the way they hoped? I don't think it's possible. That's why I got to go OXG.
You think the perfect formula on both sides of the coin is actually going to work out here? Like no mistakes that you can find on OXG's side to really give SSG an edge here?
No, I really think they're a perfect team. I don't think they can make mistakes.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't think it's
look
possible.
at their play. I agree. I think their play has been near perfect so far this entire stage. It's going to be very difficult for Spacestation to come back against that.
All right, so 2 votes for OXG. Thank you, gentlemen. We'll come back to you for when this matchup gets underway. However, are you going to stand by that, Jesse? You're going to just roll with that whole point and pick him for this game?
Yeah, what Skies told me over the weekend was we're going to play our game, they're going to play their game. It'll be a barn burner. His words, not mine. I can say barn burner
All right,
here.
fine.
And looking at the games, OXG have had a better game this stage so far. SSG's has been very good, but they've had slip-ups. Auction have not.
I think you can't really tamper with perfection, and when you try, something is going to fall off the rails. Nothing that OXG has tried has met with failure at this point, and they've also had some good wins against very good teams. That opening against TSM kind of comes to mind as the shock or the shot heard around the world to give them the momentum they need to get to this point. So yeah, I'm sticking with OXG. Not to say SSG are a bad squad, but when you're on a roll like this, what can really stop you? I hope the answer isn't the coin.
You know, technically I am the coin. And
I thought you said
say,
last game you weren't.
You know, maybe I am, maybe I'm not. It's up to a coin flip.
Are you taking responsibility because Doa
No.
won't take responsibility for that thing?
No, I will not take responsibility for that. You know, it's a separate entity, but part of me does want to say Space Station.
Yeah, you can get spicy.
No, because Oxygen have looked so incredibly good. They've been so dominant, everything that they've pushed forward to on all the new maps, they looked good. They were able to knock down Astralis pretty handedly. And look at what Astralis is doing to everybody else in the league.
That's true.
That's the good old transitive property here, you know.
True.
Oxygen beat Astralis, Astralis beat Space Station. That means that, indeed, Oxygen beat Space Station.
Well, the record of the coin, I think, has either gone down or hasn't been as consistent. So, I mean, I know I've climbed a little bit. I'm curious if I can actually like begin to draw even. So, production, what did the coin go with? Contraire again.
No.
Again, last time this happened, everyone here picked Astralis and it picked Parabellum and lost.
I guess, but like you go back historically, and when it's like this, when it's 4 against the coin, typically we lose.
Have you actually done stats on the coin yet? I know Doa said he was going to, so when he comes back, maybe we'll have hard numbers.
I haven't run the exact numbers,
Okay,
but that's what it's been like over the first couple of weeks.
I was nervous for you if you actually wasted your time outside crunching numbers against the coin. I was going to be so worried for you.
Listen, sometimes you get too deep into the spreadsheet and you can't get out.
Look, man, when we are here every week, it's understandable you don't know like the fear that it induces, but yeah, we have a lot to look out for. The coin has selected the team that everyone else voted against. So we'll see if that exact thing rings true for our last game of the day. OXG Space Station in the Battle of the Behemoths, Jays Wells and Lynx with the call.
Oh boy. This one is gonna be fun. Our marquee matchup of the day. And honestly, I am not gonna say the word that Jesse's been saying about 800 times, but it's gonna be a good game. How's that?
Yes, it begins with barn, and you can fill out the rest.
God.
I mean, here's the thing, right? Like, it's one of those games, like, it needs no explanation. If you've been watching the NAL so far, you know it's OXG, you know it's SSG, they have the pedigree, OXG has the recent performance, you know this is going to be a good game. Now, I say that, sometimes teams do a little trolling, and it ends up being a 7-1 or a 7-2. I'm hoping that's not today, but based on how OXG have been playing so far and how SSG I know they can play and how they can adapt to teams when they start throwing problems in front of them, I just don't see how this isn't going to be a constant battle of who can one-up the other throughout the map.
That's fair. I mean, when we're talking about OXG clicking everywhere, right? I said that vague statement earlier, but let's get down to specifics. Vertical and Laxing are the top 2 players in the entire NAL right now. Foxe, not far behind. Newers, not far behind either. OXG has 4 players in the top 10 stats-wise
Wait, Jonah,
of the entire league.
and I think, I might be wrong, aren't there only 5 players on these rosters?
Exactly. That's math
Are
right
you telling
there.
me that's an 80% in the top? No, 80% of their. Wow.
And the only player not in the top 10 is Dream, who is playing hard support the entire time, and he has been incredibly clutch. He has had incredible performances day after day that continue to make me think, is there anything that this team can do wrong? Space Station hoping to expose that today.
Well, yeah, and again, if there is any team that can expose the weaknesses in OXG, who can expose and capitalize on the mistakes that they do in their play, it's got to be Space Station. Connor put it best. If there is even the slightest of openings, and Jesse tagged on with this as well, if there are even the slightest of openings, Bosco as the IGL, or literally any of these 4 players have the ability in them to recognize that mistakes, make a call, and they know that the entire team is going to get behind it and is going to go along with the best plan of action in order to counter it. And again, as the desk also said, SSG have had that one slip up. You know, they did lose 7-5 to Astralis, but if your 1 week result is a 7-5 loss to a team that they themselves have been on the come up, I'm just excited for this game. I can't say anything else. I am just exhilarated that we get to cast this.
I mean, and this is battle for the top. As we've talked about, it is the top 2 teams right now, and it's only fitting. You know, today we casted the bottom 2 teams, the middle 2 teams, and now the top 2 teams to see which of these teams, SSG or OXG, is going to separate themselves from the pack. Right now, OXG is the only team that is yet to find that loss. You know, SSG, they've already, they have not gotten the maximum points that is possible. Rather, OXG have regulation wins every single time, but either team, if they're able to win here, that head-to-head tiebreaker would be massive. It would solidify them at the top.
And on top of that, not only, are we fighting for the tiebreaker, we're fighting for first place. We're doing it on a new map, too. And not a new map in terms of the pool, just a new map for this stage. We've not seen a lot of Kafe so far. We haven't seen Kafe at all this stage so far. This is an excellent opportunity for teams to try to, revamp things a little bit. One of our criticisms for other teams, on maps like Oregon or whatnot, have been just things being a bit too standard. Not getting, not crazy with it, but not trying to adapt as well. Not trying to change things up as well, as much as we would hope to see at this level. Not seeing Kafe so far, and both these teams not exactly being leaning super hard into Kafe in the past 3 to 6 months. This is a really good time to actually see some really incredible play from both these teams in both the strategic department and the adaptation department on this map, because there's so much on the line and because we have not seen either of these teams play at this stage.
Well, what do you think about, the team that this map favors exactly? Bringing Kafe back into the pool, into the NAL for the first time this year entirely. Is this something that you think SSG can step up and capitalize on, or would it still favor OXG?
Well, so one thing I think that SSG will have going for them in this match, especially when they're on the attack, is controlling the flanks. One big thing that we've seen from OXG throughout their entire matches, especially their ones against on Oregon, has been Foxe on the flank. Not only are they always well-timed, they are always impactful, and somehow the man gets away with highway robbery whenever he goes for those flanks. Kafe, it's not a map that you can get as crazy just because it's a little bit easier to be controlled by the attack. There is only a finite number of stairwells, and they can be very easily covered by the attack. Red stairs, and to a lesser degree, white stairs as well. It's not as easy to flank up those, and even brown stairs as well can be covered from a few key angles, especially, say, once the attack has control of Nubalk. So one of the key things that OXG have had to switch things up or to cause chaos in the round has been Foxe on that flank, and in this match, it's not a strategy you can as easily do on this map, but then again, they let Kafe get this far. I would be utterly shocked if they hadn't thought of that.
We know that the brain behind SSG is also there. You've got Lycan, you've got
Brains,
Luke.
plural.
The brains, right? Lycan and Luke, obviously, getting the work done in the background. Sometimes actually playing the game, but not today.
Not
We're
today.
Gonna have Hot and Cold.
We
in
can
the
confirm that.
lobby.
He's right there.
He's right there.
Literally
we can see him.
right
you can
there.
see him on your screen, sitting at the table. He's not going to be getting up and putting Lycan in that seat. That'd
be really funny. That
would
actually
be funny.
Really
it would be funny, but it wouldn't make a ton of sense for SSG's hopes in this game because, like you said, and like Connor said, of course, SSG is the team out there that if they see a weakness in OSG, they can pounce on it and capitalize. But keep in mind that in order to do that, SSG need to be firing on all cylinders. I mean, you have Skies and Hot and Cold and Rampy, all of whom have been putting up pretty good numbers so far this season in terms of overall frags. But you've got someone like Fultz and someone like Bosco who have really not been living up to the potential that we know they have. If they can all start meshing a little bit more and they all play at their absolute best, this one could go the distance.
And one strategy I think that OXG can really employ to maybe kneecap SSG, really throw things or throw them off their game is a lot of the strategy they've exhibited on the roam. Sometimes they can get very aggressive, but a lot of the times as well, they've also shown an aptitude to just hang back a little bit, still extend off the site, still play, up above it, off of it, but play to deny intel, not play to take fights, not play to stop the attack from entering the building, but take down 2-3 drones in the early round, fall back, maybe shoot a couple more drones, and then retreat back to the site, hopefully fully intact, not having lost a body. And that's something that could really hurt SSG if OXG, when they're on the defense, can manage to employ that strategy on the roam successfully, not getting too aggressive, not giving Spacestation the opportunity for a pick, but doing heavy damage to the drone count like they've been able to do in the past. That can really hinder SSG's profound and prodigious ability to adapt, read into those mistakes. They can't do it if they're completely blind going in.
Well, thinking more about the map that we've got in front of us, we're hopefully moments away from actually diving in, but thinking about Kafe, I know we've talked about the roam a lot, and we've talked about the fragging capability of both of these teams, but if you think about Kafe, it's a map that kind of falls right in the middle in terms of, is it going to be frag heavy? Is it going to be utility heavy? I think of Kafe as like that combination between an Oregon playstyle and like a Clubhouse playstyle.
Yeah.
Because at the same time, you could have Clubhouse playstyle where you have like extreme, methodical, utility focused all the time. And to be fair, Oregon is that as well. But you get a little bit more spicy on Kafe. I feel like it can quickly devolve into like super frag fest, super frag heavy. The question is, which one of these teams is going to be able to control that pace and pretty much decide what kind of style they want to play? Are we going to see that slow, that, think about the top floor on Kafe. All that focus on pixel position, clearing those shields, clearing that utility. Is that going to be the Kafe we see? Or are we going to see, first floor kitchen attackers rush in?
Well, let's say OXG want to employ that strategy of getting super in the face of SSG. I mean, they certainly have the mechanical skill to do it. Don't get me wrong. If you put Newers in a position, he can succeed in that spot if he's hitting that shots. You put really, honestly, anybody in that position on OXG, they can probably go 1-for-1. Maybe not all the time, but I mean, as Connor said, at worst, Newers is probably going to go 1-for-1. A good position, a good example is how teams sometimes, decide to defend third floor, cocktail. One example would be, hiding behind the pixel shield, layering it with ADSs and magnets, and playing very far back. Somebody might peek out behind that shield to take a fight with somebody on the rappel, but the goal there, first and foremost, is to waste utility, and of course, by extension, to waste time. But another option we see, or a couple different options we see, are putting somebody in the humidor to play aggressive with the shotgun, try to stop anybody from dropping down red. Or another one that's a little bit more unorthodox is putting someone all the way on the opposite side of Christmas, playing up against the windows and trying to take fights with people there. It's a very risky position, and honestly, more often than not, sometimes fails. But OXG have the players who can make that work. If they want to play aggressive, they certainly have a few options on Kafe to do it.
All right. Well, now we can finally head into Kafe and see what kind of map we've got in store. For our marquee matchup of the day, our final matchup of the day, let's hope we end with a bang, Carter. We're going to dive into our operator bans and see what kind of Kafe we've got in store. All these teams so far in the NAL this stage have given us a variety of bans. We have seen the stock standard bans you would expect from, 2 years ago even, but we've also seen some more creative bans. We've seen those Nook bans, those Ying bans. We've seen teams get a little bit spicy with an Finka ban, for example, as SSG will take her off the board.
Now, is it the most creative ban? No. Is it a very logical one? Absolutely. Not necessarily a target ban against Newers, though he does enjoy playing his Finka. It's still an operator that you're more than happy to get off the board. No more Adrenal Surges. Gone 6, gone. LMG, gone. Frag Grenades, gone. Just overall, a solid logical ban by SSG. OXG answering back. Talked about Bog Standard. It's a Thatcher, but do you really want to leave the EMPs and the tool in the hands of SSG? Surely that team more than anybody else can make good use of what is a simple gadget.
I love what we're seeing right here because it is, we do not want to see the aggression from SSG, and Oxygen saying, well, okay, but if you're going to bring out that utility game, we're going to make it as hard as it normally is. We're not going to make that any easier on you. On the defensive side, this is what we've seen be pretty consistent throughout the entire day, the Mira ban and the Valkyrie ban, but the second one will not be the Valk. Instead, it will be the Wamai. Another ban that does make a lot of sense here on Kafe. Already prefaced something like that pixel position on that top floor in piano. Those Wamai magnets can be such a pain for attackers to deal with, and while it is beneficial to take him and to take the Mira off the board, you got to remember now that the weapon that is the Valkyrie is very playable, and we're likely to see her every single defensive round.
Yeah, and again, SSG, I'm obviously not gonna question this. They're obviously gonna use the benefits of the Valk. They can use the Valk very effectively, but it is a little bit worrying. It is a risk you're taking, leaving that in the hands of OXG. Let's say they're able to fight back very hard on their attacks, and you have some solid defenses, but you do give OXG that Valkyrie. They're a team that certainly can play very well off of intel, and if we were talking about, 50-50 shot, they play aggressive on the roam, or 50-50 chance, they just hang back and shoot drones before rotating back. With a Valk on the board, it's a lot more likely that not only will they play aggressive, but they can do it very effectively. But again, I'm sure SSG have accounted for that. I'm not at all worried at whether or not this was an oversight. I'm sure they'll be able to counteract it once OXG go to the defense and likely bring that Valk. This will be fun.
Right, and OXG also have some plans in mind for that Valk. Look, Vertical has brought out the IQ, something we have seen a little bit today, but something that is perfect to bring into a lobby when you're trying to find those Valkyrie Black Eye cameras. Looks like Skies is having a little bit of an issue here, so maybe calling for a quick rehost. But regardless, we know what site we're going to be heading to, and we know exactly what SSG are going to be doing. It looks like they are focusing on a top floor hold. A top floor extension because we are here on Reading and Dining, or Reading and Fireplace Hall, to kick things off. It looks like that rehost will be confirmed, so we will have to wait to get all of our players back in the lobby, but a good starting point, and we got a couple things to talk about in terms of the site selection.
Yeah, as far as rehost goes, that was actually pretty good. Had a solid, 20, 30 seconds to look at the site, how they were actually setting up. That's honestly better than a lot of rehosts go. Sometimes they happen right at the beginning. It's like, oh, well, I saw the ops they picked. But that was it. So, yeah, we did see, obviously, setting up for a reading room defense, going for that top floor extension. What do you know? It's Kafe. They're not throwing anything too crazy at us. But I am excited to see, of course, we mentioned it already. I don't want to beat the point too much. But that Valk, what Hot and Cold's going to do with it. How are they going to use that intel? Are they going to use it to, maybe get C4s on the vertical? Are they going to use it to enable, trying to get into gunfights off of site? So I want to see how Hot and Cold is going to do that. Most importantly, I want to see how OXG are going to take this, whether or not they're going to go for the standard full clear up top, get the vertical. That is a very successful strategy. The nice thing about Reading, you could waste a hell of a lot of time on the top floor, but if you still get that third floor control with 45 seconds left, open up a few holes, you can still get a plant down inside of Reading. Or if they want to go for something inside of Dining, that is something that teams can favor sometimes. And for OXG, who might want to take this a little quicker, set the pace, put SSG on the back foot where they are forced to adapt. It's a strong position, but something they might be uncomfortable doing. Going in quick into Dining could certainly be something to throw SSG off.
Well, one other thing I think we could mention is at least I am a big fan that we are seeing OXG start on the attacking side, because a lot of questions, at least I'd say, looking at the whole scope of this map, to see OXG perform well on the attack, that is really going to be the question mark of how well can SSG defend this map. Because if they can limit OXG's attacking potential, I think they'll set themselves really up for that second half. Because looking at, again, some of these players in particular on OXG and what they've been able to do on the attack so far. I mean, think about Dream. He is leading the league in plants right now with 7 plants total through four Playdays, tied with Marmalade, actually, who also has 7. You look at Newers, who is leading on the entry. Clear, +6 on the entry, better than everybody else in the league right now. That is terrifying as a defensive team going up against a strong entry core and a strong supportive core at the same time. There are so many weapons on this team. On the attacking side is where I believe they will shine. So if SSG can slow down that attack, and if they can come out and establish this Kafe as a defensive-sided Kafe, if they can set that rhythm, I think that is where they'll succeed.
Absolutely. And going forward here, we don't have to wait too long. We're already getting back into it. We're starting the match back up. We don't need to worry too long about, hanging out, waiting too much, building anticipation to see what goes on. But hey, here, we can get right back into it. Of course, same op, same site, not switching things up after the rehost. So we'll still have that IQ that we saw to try and counter Hot and Cold's Valk. We'll still have, the smoke and the mute combo, holding down, reading. And of course, well, we have the Hibana that Dream is bringing, which I will say, of all the sites on Kafe, not the site that not only you don't really use Hibana that often, don't really hard breach all that often. It's not something that a lot of teams need on this site, but I am intrigued to see where Dream opts to use those X-Kairos.
Yeah, not essential, but often helpful, especially on that reading triple while facing pillar, right? It's always nice to get a couple angles open and force those defenders out of some corners. Also, when you're clearing this top floor, even though the site is on that second floor, a core component of this attack will be clearing out that extension. And again, with all those reinforcements we can see now being set up on that top floor, facing that piano side, those X-Kairos pellets will be extremely helpful in opening up just a couple of small angles here, a couple of small angles there, maybe a rotate hole over here, all of Joes that they need to just force those SSG defenders to either back away or fight for their lives.
That's the power of that Hibana rework, man. Before you'd open a stupidly large 6 X-Kairos hole just to clear out bathroom. Now, just a solid 2, and if placed right, it could still do massive amounts of damage or give you massive amounts of progress on clearing out that roam. We'll see, of course, where they opt to use those X-Kairos, likely some on the roam clear, likely some on the site. That is, of course, up for OXG to decide. I do not have that power, but we do know, based on where they are going and where we see Newers repelling and others, that they are looking to make progress on this top floor, or at least gain a little bit. See a rotate hole made open inside of Christmas to start going forward, but this is the decision point. Are they just getting some slight top floor control, open up train, hold this side, or are they going for that full clear and likely a reading plan at the end?
Right, if they just take control of this west side of the top floor, it generally indicates that we are going to see that back-sided take, right? The take towards Fireplace Hall dining instead of reading and pillar as a whole. Of course, getting some pillar control is always helpful because you want to avoid that swing from the long haul, but as long as you control that some part of this western half of the top floor, you can be relatively safe in going for that train room push. Right now, still determining whether OXG are going to clear out the whole top floor or not, but the fact that we are 90 seconds in and we see very little movement from west to east on this top floor does suggest it is going to be direct, it is going to be horizontal, and it's going to be down below. Look at Newers already getting involved.
Yeah, getting in that position, taking pillar control. I mean, we could still see them go, but Fox say the sledge, if they really wanted Bird, they'd be going to clear right now. So they are definitely trying to take this from dining, trying to maybe make SSG a little bit more uncomfortable. Now, what OXG need to do here, need to keep a couple positions on lock. Pillar being number 1 and likely supported by the guy on new balcony. Those are the 2 positions that OXG definitely and assuredly need to keep in their grasp, where SSG are going to have some really good openings to fending off this execute for quite a long time, even if they enter the disadvantage like they do now. But taking down the smoke with those canisters and Bosco, who can provide so much in IGLing, that's a big pick by Newers.
Oh, it's a huge pick by Newers, and now he's holding this vital angle, allowing his team to develop this extension, develop these opportunities. Fox with a nade kill. Dream now getting this bomb down, and where is the response from SSG? I see no movement. They have no idea, and they can do nothing to stop Fox from getting a triple. He walks in the site, mows down SSG. It is all up to Rampy, and he has no idea what to do next. He'll take the head of Laxing. That is 1 kill for him, but he's in a 1v4 with very few options remaining, almost completely out of time. He'll have to drop back down and go for some sort of Hail Mary, but OXG have moved into this site swiftly, dominantly, and they'll close out the round with a bang.
It can't get any more decisive than that. I mean, obviously it wasn't a flawless round, but just one impactless frag by Rampy. You can't get as decisive a round as that from OXG to start things out and set the pace for what could be a very exciting best of one. They move into dining, they take that control of the top floor, but they just take what they need to. Again, they take Nubauk, they establish something inside of Christmas, but they don't move further because they don't need to move further. They have that key position on Nubauk to watch the flank, to watch Brown Stairs, to hold control of Pillar. That's about all you need, and then you need to focus on the middle floor. And once Newers gets that kill onto Bosco, it's go time at that point. If he knew it was the smoke, that's an excellent call, and even if he didn't, still a solid opportunity to go, because everyone is focused on fending off the oncoming attackers inside of Reading, and what does that give? Not only a good opportunity to get the bomb down, but most importantly, an opportunity for Fox to hit the flank, what do you know, and cause chaos in the site.
Oh, it was just beautiful. That was just so well played as a whole, and really felt like there was nothing SSG could do. OXG had every single one of those bases covered. One thing that generally I'm always concerned about, like when seeing an attacking team pressure that backside and focus on taking that train control instead of that vertical control, is the risk you run when swinging out into pillars. Because if you don't take vertical control, there can be defenders sitting up in Cocktail, sitting up by the long bar, and sitting up in Heaven. And the risk of that is that all they've got to do is go for a swing. You're sitting down in pillar, and someone is above you taking gunfights over your head. That's never a winning engagement for the attacking side. But what OXG did brilliantly is they maintained the bare minimum control they needed, holding some angles up above, preventing that very swing from SSG, freezing them in place, taking that control decisively.
Now see, Jonah, this is not the adaptation I thought we would see, not the site selection I thought we'd see. We see mining and dining come out as the next site selection by SSG. Fairly close to reading and dining, I will say that, but not a site we see all too often, or especially you and I coming from CL. Not something we see many Tier 2 teams venture out to try. Every now and then maybe, but not too much. Seeing a very aggressive control of the top floor though, whereas before SSG were just residing on Cocktail Balcony and just hanging out over there, this time they need to get aggressive and deny that vertical control above, because Oxygen already showed they're adept at taking this when it's free, and with how much more importance it has on this site, SSG have got to hold on to it for much longer and much more impactfully than they did previously.
Well, Skies may be willing to use that C4. He is sitting below, and as OXG work their way into Piano, he could always send that sky high and, well, send some attackers sky high with it. But it's a matter of time, because OXG have not worked their way in quite yet. Just working their way into the top of Red Stairs, and Cigar at the moment, setting up an eventual clear, but not getting quite ahead of themselves. Plus, they could always go for something more direct, but the fact that we're seeing Foxe get some nades on the way down the long bar does suggest we are going to see this full clear. Vertical drops the skylight, catches Rampy off guard. Vault is the next to fall. The Vertical will fall to the floor, but there's one teammate sitting right behind. Does get fried. Newers falls thanks to a good shot from Hot and Cold with this Uzi here, and Hot and Cold actually is looking for another kill.
Yeah, he's trying to hold out for as long as he can. Bosco's there to support, but OXG are not relenting on this pressure for the moment. They might go try to revive Vertical, but wow! What a big C4 by Skies. Takes down the down Vertical, and Dream to boot. That's a big play to put OXG on the back foot.
Oh, that is a great play there, and well-timed from SSG, preventing the revive, really preventing this attack from building any more momentum. It is Laxing and Foxe, last alive, trying to track down 3 defenders. It's doable here, and we've seen Laxing do it. The problem is these 1v1 gunfights often favor the defense in a situation like this, and, well, Laxing, you can see he's desperate to flash him out and find this kill, but it is going to be so hard to get this right angle, because it's not a 1v1, it's actually a 2v1 that Laxing handles beautifully. At least he'll take the first. He loses his teammate around the corner thanks to a good shot from Bosco, so Laxing's going to have to do all the work himself. Skies around the corner, though, was more than prepared. SMG-11 in hand and a quick headshot delivered. SSG tie us up.
Well, that's a nice thing to see from SSG. Obviously, last time, or on the first round reading in Fireplace, OXG were like, we know you're roaming, but we don't care. So we're just going to leave and hold this side of the map, and y'all can, like, hang out over there. But here, SSG are like, okay, we're going to go mining and dining and force you to clear us out. We're not even going to run things too much differently. We'll put, like, Foltz more aggressively up and Skies playing in train, but beyond that, we're just going to hold this like how we did before. And OXG have to clear it out now in order to gain that vertical, gain the advantage that they need. And there, sure, vertical pushes up, drops Skylight, gets some big kills, but Hot and Cold able to survive that long and allow Skies to get into position. Overall, great recovery in the mid-round by SSG, individually by Hot and Cold, and then as a team to get Skies in that position to make that play.
Heading down to the first floor now. We're going to see Kitchen next from SSG. I did like the pick of mining overall in that initial site switch.
Yeah.
They realized that, you know what, maybe
Worked out well.
because OXG avoided clearing out the top floor, if we really force them to clear out the top floor, maybe we can expose a weakness or two. It did seem like OXG started out that clear beautifully, but you got to give it up to Hot and Cold. A well-timed C4 and a well-timed and a really strong hold of that cocktail double door from him to give SSG the edge. But this site, again, it will depend most likely on map control. That's why we can see SSG extending all over this map. Once again, Hot and Cold is on that top floor. He'll likely be assisted by a couple of black eye cameras from the Valkyrie, in this case Skies, wielding that powerful Navy SEAL operator. The rest of this defense extended on the first floor. We don't see a full-fledged bakery extension. Only 2 players all the way on the first floor right now. Bosco tucked in the site and 1 player over in coat check at the moment.
Yeah, with this lineup you see coming out from OXG, sometimes we'll see teams go for a bakery direct, especially when teams have extended far off the site, but without a Maverick on the board and with this lineup specifically, it's unlikely. They're going to go for that full clear. They're going to try to go, and SSG have more than prepared. As you said, they've got the black eye cameras, but they've also set up some Banshees on long bar to make that long trek from Cigar over towards Cocktail that much more difficult and just make it a little bit more intensive in order to make work. Hot and Cold also just sitting on Cocktail Balk right now, hanging out, sitting down below, and what could happen here? What could possibly happen? Well, if OXG aren't diligent with their drones, he could peek out and take one.
Oh, it looks like they know exactly where he is, though. Talk about diligence with that intel game. Vertical knew exactly what he was walking into, and Hot and Cold says good night. Now it'll be in much easier clear thanks to the Malusi taken care of without even a single bullet being exchanged. All of these oxygen attackers now at full HP and now beginning a bit of vertical pressure, not on the site itself, but onto this second floor, trying to make sure to pin down these defenders. And look at that, Foxe, great position, great sledge work from above, takes down Rampy, no problem.
You know what the crazy thing is so far, the sad thing? SSG have done a brilliant job at taking down and hurting Oxygen's drone economy. You see 3 drones right now. The sad thing, it seems to not really be mattering that much. OXG push up, take down Houghton, push further, take down Rampy, and then the final roamer just has to drop back down and hope that they can help out the site presence. We still have 1 C4, I believe, pre-placed by Skies right now, and Folt still has 1 in pocket. And Bosco, most importantly, has 2 smoke canisters left. So while OXG have done a good job at taking down some of the roamers, they're starting to run low on time, and they don't have a lot of drones, whereas SSG, they've got themselves in their positions. If they can evade the holes being made by the sledgehammer and get in a position to use that utility, they can still very easily and very decisively stop this execute that's incoming from OXG, and it's got to come soon.
Yeah, but that waste of that C4 may have changed the course of the round. No longer the utility favoring the
Both
defense.
miss.
Newers claiming that kill from Fultz, and yes, the second C4 also missing. It's going to be a desperate attempt now from Bosco to slow this down.
What?
Tucked in the corner, and Newers didn't know that, so he'll get the kill. Skies on the follow-up. Bosco with a chance, but just misses. Foxe cleans him up.
Oh,
Last alive is
no.
Skies, and it looks like that tech issue he was having earlier has, well, reared its ugly head again. But either way, he is in a 1v3 with almost no options to get this done. Would take a miracle. Obviously, he'd have to be connected to the lobby, but it doesn't look likely either way. Connected or not, he has to fight against a full HP Laxing, a practically 100 HP Foxe, and Dream, who's honestly just there to either find a trade or find the coverage from someone else. So there it is. Skies eventually finished off by Foxe, but a very good round from OXG regardless, and they would have won that round either way.
I mean, yeah, and obviously it's incredibly unfortunate what's happening to Skies, but you know what the funny thing is, though? If Bosco hits that shotgun shot, I honestly think he might have a good chance of clutching that. Because as we saw, he worked himself into that position. Overall, it was very risky. Very ballsy play to do what he did, to just hop into freezer like that. But he had the exact right game plan. Smoke out the drop. He knows, of course he knows, that their drone economy's been low as well. If he's able to just reposition himself very suddenly right as they're dropping, unlikely that they'll be able to probably pick up on that. So he's able to get 1, almost, or no, 2 as well. And if he hits that shotgun shot as the person peeks freezer double, I still think he might lose. It'd be a 1v5 at that point since Skies is DC'd. But that was really close to being a very winnable round by Bosco, and I just want to commend him for that.
Well, the reason we said that it was still a winnable situation for SSG in that 3v5 was because of exactly that. The lack of intel from OXG and the plethora of intel on the other side for SSG. They had those Valk cams still in the mix. They had 3 defenders and 2 C4s, so they could easily play off the knowledge that OXG's drones were limited, use those cameras, use the intel they have to, like you said, reposition, outmaneuver the attackers, and kind of sit in surprising spots. That's what Bosco did. It's a shame that both of his teammates missed their C4s. If they had hit just one or saved just one for the execute, and Bosco had that good of a performance, we're looking at a very different story.
And that's what we were hoping for going into this was, I mean, obviously not necessarily a 1v5, but a 1v5 that we can look at that very narrowly became a 1v2 by Bosco's sheer effort alone, that if just one piece of utility hits different, that could be around for SSG despite Skies literally disconnecting from the game. It's just a testament to how close this matchup can be at its potential. You know, obviously if Skies isn't having the tech issues that he is, but even with it, they're still able to keep up the pace just by sheer individual effort alone. But again, to talk about OXG a little bit as well, if you want to, well, I don't know. It's just overall, I just like both these teams, I'm going to be honest.
Yeah, there's so much to talk about here, and we're going to get into it, I'm sure. But we're going to have to take a few minutes to make sure that we have all these tech issues sorted out. We want to make sure that Skies can get back in this game, so we have the closest game possible. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
G, baby, look, labs till I'm finished. Had a handful of limits through the hand. Got a bag, now the hands in the business. For my hand, it's a ticket. Talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. I've been playing with the minutes that they been shoulda gave. And I'm flipping every digit that they been shoulda paid. Had to find a way to get it. Know this isn't what you made. If I ever wanna dip, then I'm brink with the blade. And I'm brinking a blink on the brink of some dumb shit. Watch how I move, cause I know the brink's coming. Watch for the blues, cause I know that they dumping. Nothing in my view, so it's hush on discussion. Hush on discussions, you know what you need to. I keep it in the fam to let you know that I don't need you. Y'all cats be see-through, heading out to peace. You been king, I'm regal, got it in my Abisu. Came through tripping Aquafina, I'm sipping 15, kept a weapon on me. Flow make digits, I'm on my business. Stack chicken like what it's gon' be. Crew in the cut, hey, you want us red run when I tell a peace. Love is love. Love is love. Hold up with it, got my back on Pippin. I'm back in kitchens with the tray. Windows tinted like how black my skin is. Scoop the shorty in it from a J. Swish, she got vision just like any women giving me the kitten. Way before the riches, nothing more to mention. I could light a block upon the aura glisten. Boring on my body, that's a Gora linen. I came through tripping Aquafina, I'm sipping 15, kept a weapon on me. Flow make digits, I'm on my business. Stack chicken like what it's gon' be. Crew in the cut, hey, you want us red run when I tell a peace. Love is love. Love is love. Adios. Love is love. Love is love. Adios. Love is love. Love is love.
And we are back and good to go. Hopefully all of Sky's tech issues have been sorted out, and we can dive back into Kafe where we picked off a 2-1 scoreline. Oxygen in the lead after a successful kitchen attack.
Yes, and of course, can't go without mentioning, a very close try by Bosco to almost bring it back. Alas, he did not. And now we must deal with the repercussions of that. We will go to Reading as the next defense, the first site attempted by SSG going into this, and have another rehost because Vertical cannot move. Now, that is a little bit funny because his name is Vertical. So, like, if you think about it, he shouldn't be moving horizontally anyway. So, you write that one down. I thought that was pretty good. That was a Doma right there.
I'm going to keep that one in the pocket for
I'm
later.
writing that one down.
All right, good. Because once again, we got to wait for these players to get back into this lobby. But like we were talking about, to remind you where we left off.
Yes.
We started off top floor, big hold from SSG. OXG say, you know what, let's avoid it. Let's go direct onto Reading site. They go in there. Fox A, I mean, he was the man of that one. He just sent it in, got a triple kill. Newers lines him up. Really all out, just a dominant, beautiful attack in that first round. SSG clapped back, though. They came in with mining. They had a really good top floor hold, and OXG just could not account for everything that SSG threw at them. Round 3, of course, it was the kitchen site, and that's where things changed a bit.
Yeah, kitchen, we were like, oh my lord. OXG, they only have 3 drones. They still have a minute and a half to go. They got a whole site to execute on. How are they going to... But then, Jonah, can you believe it? They did the strategy that we referenced time and time again today. It's a brilliant play. You know what it is?
Send it in there?
They just sent it. They just sent it in the chat.
There it is.
That was just the play they did. They hopped down the hatch. But to be fair, before they hopped down the hatch, they took down 2 roamers. So like there was a little bit more.
Yeah, 5v3.
Yeah, 5v3. Drop the hatch, and Bosco's going huge. He smokes it off. He hops in while he's concussed, by the way. Big man right there. Hops in, gets a couple kills, but he ends up dying. Unlucky. It was a 1v5. Sky's DC'd. Now we're here, and we're going back to a reading room defense for SSG. And what are the adaptations they're going to make? Well, bigger question probably. Will OXG continue with that dining take? And if they do, how will SSG adapt? I suppose it was a 2-part question.
Right. I mean, OXG, I think we're probably going to see the same attack because it worked so well. And SSG weren't even close to having a counter for it. Instead of maybe working into SSG's arms, which would be feeding into that full top floor clear, which they did very successfully in that second round, like I said earlier, I think they're going to go for the same thing again, and SSG are going to be the ones forced to make some changes. I imagine we might see a little more defensive aggression or more active positioning on that piano side. I honestly wouldn't mind to see a little bit of like a makeshift cigar hold of some kind. Obviously, we don't normally see that when you're defending the top floor because usually that's a little bit risky to overextend yourself.
Definitely.
But I think SSG, they just need to cover as much of that top floor as they can because if they don't, or at the very least, if they don't somehow secure mining and train room for at least a decent amount of time, OXG should be able to move in just as quickly.
I mean, we will see one change. Sky's opting to go with the Cade this time. The train wall has been completely, obviously, reinforced like it was before, but it's been full electrified. So you might not have to worry about dealing with anybody going in through the left side of that panel like you might otherwise have to. But I do want to harp on what you just said. Not harp on, that's been negative. I want to comment, elaborate, expand on what you just said. Well, I shall. On holding a bit more aggressively on that top floor. It is a bit risky, especially on reading, because, well, one, top floor is in the site. You have to retreat a whole lot farther, and there's a lot more opportunities to cut them off, but it seems like we might be seeing that. We'll see not anybody in Pixel, but we'll instead see some holes and reinforcements laid in bathroom, laid inside a freezer, so they're not all the way up, but they are a lot further up than they were previously.
Well, OXG will get our answer as to their plan, hopefully in the next minute or so. It was about the 90-second mark in round 1 where we finally got confirmation that they were going for a train side execute. And right now, we're still in the infant phases of this round as Fox gets these hatches open as he drops into the top of red stairs, a drone at his feet to make sure that, like we said, there isn't going to be any ridiculous extension from SSG over to that side of the map. And it turns out there isn't. There are 3 defenders upstairs, 1 in cocktail, 1 in freezer, and 1 in that second floor bathroom, or the third floor bathroom. But right now there's no active defender pressuring them as they drop the hatch. The one risk, though, is Skies down below. He does have a C4, and if Oxygen push into Piano, that C4 could be lying in wait.
And most importantly, not only that C4, but Skies can also, he might not be on the top floor, but he can get aggressive on that bottom floor by, of course, that C4. But if he wants to, taking fights with anybody coming up or coming down red, like all of Oxygen are doing right now. So it is a little bit of a lopsided engagement, I will say. I don't know if Skies could take on 4 people at once, as good of a player as he is, but it does appear, I think we can say, coincidentally, at that minute 30 mark again, that they are looking to prioritize this train side and this mining and dining side to go forward. What started and kicked things off here was Newers taking swift control of red and cutting down Bosco all the way by Laundry. Right now, there's somebody watching inside of dining, though, and Newers might get caught completely off guard.
Right now, Newers is focused on providing that cutoff from Skies. If Skies is forced back, Newers should be able to get that kill, but Hot and Cold is the one who misses his opportunity. Just spots out Newers, but cannot control that SMG-11 to get that kill, meaning Newers and Foxe have a second chance at life and a second chance at clearing Skies out of this position. Foxe will just storm on in, Newers joining him, taking down Skies. Not much trouble at all. C4 down below from Hot and Cold tries to save the day, but misses. Does light up Foxe a good bit. Newers also has lost a bit of HP in the scuffle, but still a 5v4.
But the important thing, this is a much slower round for OXG than it was before. SSG, even though they lost Skies and they haven't traded it back, they've done their job. Newers doesn't have control of red. They're struggling to enter dining, and now they're just sending it up long to try to compensate for those earlier mistakes, or long or pillar, whichever one, but they don't have a lot of time, not nearly as much as they did before.
Yeah, they're going to be forced to get aggressive now. This nade, very important, but it's not going to catch the smoke sitting in the close corner. Instead, those smokes can now be utilized to slow down this attack even more. They've got to make that push into dining, which they'll do now, but Hot and Cold and Rampy will line up 2 kills. 5 seconds left. Diffuser out of pocket. OXG out of options. They have to send it in, and they're doing it far too late. Doesn't matter what kills we see on the scoreboard now because OXG have run out of time.
I mean, perfect read by SSG. They did exactly what they needed to in that situation. They looked at the first defense they had. They saw how quickly OXG were able to take map control up top and then transfer that into pressure down below. And this time they said, okay, we don't want to push too far up on the top floor. Don't want to put too much of our eggs in one basket and spread ourselves thin. So we'll hold a little bit on the top floor, make it a little uncertain as they sit up there, but most importantly, put Skies inside of Train and then reinforce those walls inside of Fireplace, electrify them. So once Skies inevitably dies, because if he's going to play there as long as he does, he's probably not going to live very long. At that point, hopefully, we've wasted enough time, and in that case, not only did they do that, but by forcing Newers out of red as well, those were the 2 key areas that OXG were able to progress last time, and SSG shut them off as good as you could hope for.
Moving back to mining, though, a site that SSG were able to successfully defend last time. Of course, in the last round, we talked about SSG adaptations. It's time to talk OXG, because Oxygen, in that last round, just a moment ago in round 4, fell victim to similar issues that they had all the way back, even though it was like 20 minutes ago, in round number 2. Again, too much time taken on that top floor clear.
Yeah, whole lot of time taken on that top floor, whole lot of pressure by SSG to try to stop them from moving forward as much as they could. So, as you said, we'll see how OXG react here. We'll see a Nook come into play. Operator, we've seen it quite a bit throughout today in various matchups, some more consistently than others. Grixer running her quite a lot. This time, Vertical, bringing her out not nearly as commonly, not nearly as much as we saw in that Sonics game. But we'll see how he ends up using it. Of course, we always say could go for a flank, but she has that important utility of those nades to use. Could end up working out. Rampy doing a hell of a lot of damage to some of those drones early on, but he's in a dangerous position below Skylight right now. At the forefront of this defense, he's got to be careful if he wants to continue living up here.
Well, he's hungry for those drones, and he's
eating them.
Eating them a lot up right now, and he knows how important they are. He knows that that is what can get OXG into trouble. Their intel game, phenomenal. If you take that instrument out of their hands, what are they going to do to you in response? OXG are going to have to clap back somehow. Thankfully for them, they've only lost 4 drones up to this point, not the full 7 or 8 that we saw a couple of rounds ago. But Newers, despite not having a ton of intel of what lies in wait, is still looking to get hungry. Yes, a clean shot on that C4 as it came up down from below. Skies using the only C4 that SSG had in pocket.
Right now we can see Foltz starting to push up forward into Cigar. Newer's not even looking. He's too concerned with the rotate, and Foltz seizes the opportunity presented before him. Big kill right there. Newers and Vertical, so far in the past 4 rounds, have been very active. They've actually both combined 4-0 on opening duels. They've got all of them for OXG, and obviously SSG have been able to win a couple rounds in the late one, but denying that opportunity and shutting down one of the most big players for OXG, absolute massive moves. But Jonah, Foxy's just moving in. He's inside of the site.
Yeah, he's hungry for these kills, and he's going to get a nade sent straight into Train, but that misses, comes up with nothing. Hot and Cold does land one, taking down the Habana of Dream. A big pick right here. Foxy alone in Train, but has the better of Skies, takes him down. The coverage from Vertical on that dining window to support him is there, but Foxy is going to have to find a way to, 1, recover this diffuser, 2, get Laxing in the mix here, and 3, pick up a kill onto Hot and Cold, but just misses the fatal blow on Hot and Cold's feet through the drone hole. Has another chance.
Yeah, and Hot and Cold's going to make a big play here, and both him and Rampy take control of Pillar. This should cement OXG's lead, but as Foxy is starting to get the bomb down, Vertical's going to need to have a lot cut out for him to succeed on this coverage.
Yeah, it doesn't look like Foxy has any protection from behind, and there, as you said it, Fultz will get the kill. Vertical can do nothing on the window on the other side. The bomb is down, but Hot and Cold can get this counter defuse for free because Vertical is nowhere to be found. SSG putting on a clinic on how to defend mining yet again.
Yeah, so far this entire game, even though it was even 2-2 going into round number 5, it has been mainly OXG dominating the early round, and SSG having to claw back later on.
Yeah, first round,
yeah.
they got an opening kill.
Exactly, and then having to claw back, try to make things go their way. This time, this was SSG firmly setting the pace in the early round, which is what they needed to do to try to get a leg up on OXG. Taking down Newers, forcing them to reconsider their plan, and then most importantly, once Diffuser was dropped, trapping Foxy into the site. If you saw, nobody started to swarm in and go for the kill. They knew he was in train, sandwiched between the two sites. What is he going to do as the rest of the team tries to catch back up to him? No need to peek him. Let the rest of the team consolidate. Look at what they're going to do. See what their plan is going to be, and that's when you strike, and that's exactly when Rampy and Hot and Cold rotated into Pillar and put the final nail in the coffin for OXG in round 5.
Looks like we do have another rehost here with this time an issue with OXG. So sorting that one out, of course. But again, it is now a matter of can OXG find this final attacking round. I did say before this game, if SSG want to win this one, they have to make it a defensive-sided Kafe. They have to force OXG to fight on maybe the side of the map they are a little bit less comfortable on, or a little bit, maybe I'd say the margin between them and the rest of their competition is a little bit less substantial on defense than it is on the attacking side. So if OXG cannot get this final attacking round, if they cannot go through another successful kitchen attack, then SSG, they'll be sitting pretty with a 4-2 lead.
Absolutely, sitting very comfortably in that 4-2 lead position on the attack. That isn't to say if we get to that position, not to say that they won't have a chance. Remember, have a lot of tools in their arsenal that we know they can make good use of. Valkyrie, we've mentioned it quite a few times so far. If OXG, maybe they want to shore up and boost their early round, well, put some black eye cameras off site. Newers can play aggressive, or somebody can play aggressive, and try to work off that intel to get a lead in the early round. Oh, actually, instead, you want to facilitate a flank in the mid to late round? Well, you got to hope those black eye cameras survived, of course, but if they have, you can guide Foxy through the map. Of course, we still have one round for SSG on their defense until we get there, but while I agree with your assessment that if SSG want to be in a comfortable position, they want to make this a defender-sided Kafe, I don't think that it will be out of the realm possibility for OXG to storm back with the tools they have at their disposal.
Oh, I completely agree. There's no doubt about that it is still anyone's game, regardless of if it's a defensive-sided or attacker-sided Kafe. After all, if it is truly a defensive-sided Kafe, OXG should be able to bounce back, get 4 rounds on their defensive half. Bam, we've got overtime. So still within the realm of possibilities for both of these teams. We have seen a back-and-forth game this entire time. It was OXG, then SSG, then OXG, then SSG, and then SSG finally breaking that streak and getting one round after the other. So going downstairs to kitchen as we enter back into the lobby here to finish off this first half in round number 6.
And of course, let's see how OXG opt to go for this one. Mentioned before, might want to go for a direct take if they bring that Maverick. Of course, they have about 25 seconds. If they want to switch, if they want to diversify their options, could absolutely go for it. But if they're going to stick with this lineup, I don't think they'll change it up from what they did before. Try to go for a full clear on the map. I mean, after all, they were basically in a 5v1 come the end of it, even despite the lack of intel that they had. So I don't think it's a bad option for OXG to run back the plan that they did before. Of course, should also expect a couple reasonable adjustments by SSG, perhaps maybe some more aggression on that top floor. Try to replicate the strategy that won them round number 5. But either way, I don't expect OXG to completely 180 from how they previously attacked Kitchen.
Right, think about how well that roam clear worked. They got 2 roamers dealt with within a minute, it felt like. It was first Hot and Cold, stuck in that heaven corner, trying to make a little bit of a what would we call a rat play, just sitting in the corner hoping to go undroned, but OXG, their intel game on point, as we've said a couple times, and Rampy was cut off in dining room as the vertical pressure from Foxe became a little bit too overwhelming for him to handle. So once again, it is Hot and Cold, the first defender in the line of sight and in the path of OXG as they work their way in the building. This time, however, he will drop down a lot quicker, hoping to get out of the line of fire at least for a moment. However, he may dart his way to the white stairs and actually head all the way back up if he's still hungry for more.
Yeah, they've gone the opposite way of what I hypothesized might happen. Instead of getting in their face, they said, all right, you can full clear the map, you can take the third floor, you can take the second floor. We're going to go away, and hopefully that works out. Now, that isn't to say that Vertical isn't hungry for some kills. There's a couple players downstairs inside of Reading, and Vertical is just waiting for them to rotate in dining, and what do you know? One does.
Oh, but he reveals his position. Rampy doesn't seem to mind. He'll swing out and die anyway, at least get down. Not quite finished off. Vertical's going to actually hunt for a second, but Rampy and Hot and Cold are both able to get away scot-free.
No way!
Vertical makes the play, but only able to get one Bosco critical support, not only with the toxic smoke, but with the shotgun to cover his teammate. Vertical had a huge opportunity there to open up the round, but not getting quite as many kills as it looked like he could have.
Vertical is an absolute insane man. I cannot believe that he just did that. I mean, he could have gotten 2, maybe 3 kills right there if he really caught them off guard. I just cannot believe that is actually something he went for. I have to respect it at a certain point, but it does mean they've only gone 1 for 1, and their key entry in this round is now gone. Fultz also feels he's got some freedom, some ability, some room to play on this middle floor right now, and, well, there's nobody from OXG really contesting him, and that's a little bit of a worrying sign. They were able to get this vertical get started at this point, while Foxe and Laxing, though Laxing holding an important position, are still bogged down on that top floor, and they still got to go down too. Only 45 seconds left to make this happen, but we talked about OXG getting those kills in the late round, and what do you know? They're doing it again.
Well, Hot and Cold, I think he'll regret overexposing himself there, and now Fultz may be in a lot of trouble. He'll go for the swing. Shotgun long range for 2. Are you kidding? Can he get 3? Yes, he can. A triple kill for Fultz. He'll drop away to safety, and goodbye, OXG, in round number 6. It is all up to Laxing now, who's going to sneak his way to this first floor and try to pull off a miracle, but it's going to have to be a fragging miracle. No diffuser in pocket, and, well, no HP, no time left. Laxing taken down by Skies, and a beautiful performance to finish out that round from SSG.
Just an excellent play, an excellent positioning by Fultz right there. We saw, I mean, obviously, to be fair, if Vertical had gotten those 3 kills, I think that might have still been in contention for play of the round if he somehow had made that drop work. But you can't get more satisfying than that. Fultz working himself into a position, realizing that OXG have stalled out a little bit, and even if he dies, it's a 4v4. Oh no, you're entering a 3v4? But OXG only have 30 to 20 seconds to attack the site. Worse things have happened. SSG have the utility to fend that off. Bosco still got some smokes. They might have still have a C4 as well, and if they don't, good positioning at that. But Fultz reads it. He takes a gamble. It is a risky play, because he's alone, but it works out, and we have a beautiful highlight as a result.
Still thinking about that Laxing play, though. I mean, rather the vertical play.
I genuinely cannot. I still can't believe he went for that.
There are so many situations in which that does go OXG's way, and just I like the one decision that Vertical made to send it on in, and Bosco being so in the right place at the right time to get that kill. I mean, all of a sudden it spun the round totally on its head.
I just have to respect the fact that even though they smoked it off, whoever dropped had to take damage. They still were like, he might drop. He still might drop. They still kept that as a possibility.
It's such a good read.
It's such a good read, and honestly, one I can't believe that they somehow pulled off. I'm honestly just really impressed. But now, of course, we've got OXG going to the defense, starting out on Kitchen, going all the way down to that bottom floor. We've not seen Cocktail at third floor site at all this entire match, but we have seen Kitchen a few times. Now we'll see what SSG opt to go for. We actually have an interesting pick. We have Skies moving to the Gridlock. It's an operator that and O'Connor on the desk, and me as well, both feel a little bit underrated. Get why she's not as picked that often. Think she can be very versatile. And what do you know here? We actually see a bakery take coming out. See the prep wall opened up and starting to move over towards the main breach as well.
Only one defender right now positioned on the site. SSG have an opening of a lifetime if they get this read right now. There is some defenders obviously extended on the first floor, one over by VIP right now and one positioned in coat check. So an opportunity to pinch back onto the site. But SSG, if they can get this wall open, they could theoretically go for this push as long as they have the coverage.
Oh! They just K-tricked a thermite charge. No way. Oh! That's just a clap right there. Beautiful play by Laxing. That is not an easy thing to do. Those thermite charges go quick, but he timed it perfectly, and that's SSG's hard breach and gone. They don't have a secondary hard breach. They don't have another one. What do you know? They're all gone. Well, they have the Maverick, but they're just sending it anyway.
They're just going to send it in. Vertical actually gets a kill with a Razor Bloom, and Bosco, he knows his only option is to stick this plant. Fultz does get good coverage, though, because they have sight control. Vertical falls, and this is back even. Hard breach or not, SSG are in a post plant, and now they've got to sit back, and OXG have to barrel their way into the site. Bosco gets lit up. 1 HP now. Foxay from behind has an opportunity to open up this round, but the pre-fire reveals his position. Fultz should be able to clean him up, but no. Dream now on the assist. Fultz getting torn apart, finally falls. Skies, though, gets one back onto Newers. It is a 2v2 with 18 seconds left. Foxay gets one. That could be big. Dream finishes it off. It is all up to Skies. He get a pre-fire. 10 seconds left, though. OXG have to get on this diffuser. Skies gets one, and he finishes it off for SSG. Hard breach or not, they send it into the site, and they get it done.
Well, I'm looking at that whole take, and I'm like, oh my god, Laxing is K-tricked a thermite charge. I'm riding off the high of that, at just how incredible that play was. I didn't even realize that they had a Mav on the board. I was like, oh, they still got a secondary. I guess they could take... Wait, are they entering the site? Are they already in? Are they getting the bomb down? I was still busy trying to think about how OXG were going to adapt to that, or how SSG were going to recover, and they just storm into the site so quick that it clearly took OXG off guard. I mean, good job on the retake by Fox and Dream. Still able almost to make that work, but Skies just able to waste that little bit of time. Overall, just an excellent call by SSG to knock OXG off their balance and to take advantage of them, well, like me, riding off the high of that Cade trick and just completely making a 180 of the round.
I mean, wow, that's a 180 and a half. Obviously, we saw the Maverick doing the work early on. I don't think he was able to successfully trick that wall. It was the exothermic charge that did need to be critical in opening that up. But when it didn't happen, SSG said, okay, it's time to just send it. They did see the opening on the site that we hypothesized. We said, wait a second, guys, there's a little bit of an opening here. SSG sees that, and I think, I mean, rarely we say, OXG, a little bit of a miscall, bad communication, or something went wrong, but for the first time, we can now say that something went wrong there. And even despite all the pressure on that bakery wall, it was clearly a bakery direct take. Should have been read within 60 seconds. OXG were still a bit slow to rotate back to the site, and they missed their chance to close that door that SSG had identified.
Well, and now after that kitchen, they will hop sites entirely. They're going all the way up to Reading to try out their next attempt at, well, getting their first defensive win on Kafe. Again, you said this needs to be a defender-sided Kafe for SSG to win, but if it's defender-sided, it could favor OXG. So now SSG have the onus of winning these attacks as cleanly and as quickly as they can to finish this, and not only finish it, but make a statement doing so. See OXG move to the top floor, try to hold things a little bit more aggro to the forefront of, well, the entire map. We can see Foxay not only as the Valkyrie, but holding a C4 right now, waiting for one of these hatches to open. Jonah, we see this attempted a lot. Makes perfect sense. You want to blow them up on one of the hatches, but rarely do I see it succeed. But can he make it work here? It would certainly be the opportunity to start things off on the right foot.
What you risk, of course, is a C4 for the late round, but what you could possibly gain is a destruction of all possible vertical play. Instead, SSG will open the hatches with some bullets, rather than getting the sledge involved to avoid that exact thing. Foxay falls right into that trap, and SSG showing their massive brains in this round.
Honestly, something so simple that I got to commend SSG for it. Just recognizing that, hey, somebody to try to get an early pick might see for that hatch. Sledge, don't open it up. I'm going to shoot it open with the DMR. It's just something so simple, something so obvious that you just have to appreciate how nice of a read that was. So excellent adaptation by SSG, but what do you know? Vertical's right here, and he gets one, but also two potentially? Yes, he gets both on the prone. Excellent play by Vertical to bring that back.
I mean, just as we are highlighting just the amazing decision-making of SSG, the intel game, the decisions, everything about that good. Oh, wait a minute. Vertical's in the corner, and he's going to rat on them and take down two of the most important attackers in this entire round. You lost your Zofia, all that destruction. You lost Rampy, all of that destruction, and now this attack is crippled. I mean, yes, you've got the fragging power, you've got the F2, some smoke, some hard breach, but what can you do now? How important is the vertical play without that soft destruction?
Hey, you're discounting one thing. Skies could open up those holes with the DMR. We saw him do it with the hatches. Maybe he's got it on the floor holes this time. Obviously, we'll see how it ends up happening, but yes, as you said, this attack crippled by taking down that sledge. Not a lot of utility really to deal with this too, or to go into the execute. You've got some flashes, you've got some smokes, but again, you got to be worried about those being caught by ADSs. And Laxing looking to move up a little bit on white stairs, maybe catch an attacker off guard if they start rotating forward, but Hot and Cold's dropped. He knows that they can't stall too long after having that setback because of vertical, so we got to get a beachhead inside a pillar and start making inroads after that.
Hot and Cold worry there could be somebody positioned down below. He'll give it a brief check before heading back to the site itself and starting to pressure these defenders who now, feeling the pressure, will start to use those smokes. With 30 seconds left, Dream can comfortably waste out the remainder of this clock with those toxic babes and oxygen. Well, they're going to have to wait while SSG pivots to the other side. Vertical spotting out one player as they walk into Fireplace Hall, but well-placed smokes means that OXG have to get pretty active. Vertical spotted out, lit up. Bosco gets a kill onto Laxing in the meantime. Skies another. Bosco to plant down Skies a second. Goodbye Dream. It is all up to a low HP Vertical, and Skies gets a third. Are you kidding me? Back-to-back rounds, Skies pulling out miracles.
I mean, what can this man not do? He saw the couple DCs earlier, and he's like, all right, I know I was absent a couple rounds, but wait till you see what I'm going to do on the attack. You're going to wish I was there for the defense, for how hard I'm going to come back at you. Excellent play by Skies, but again, an excellent recovery by SSG as a whole. They lose that sledge, they lose that Zofia. Those were their only forms of vertical destruction, again, unless you're counting the line DMR, which I don't think anybody would, though it is very destructive. It gets kneecapped, but they realize, okay, we can't stall out, we can't go for the vertical, we just have to give it up. We got to give it up. We can't go for it. They drop down pillar, look down Brown, see if there's anything there, and then they just got to cut their losses and send it on him. But the smoke placement there, covering the entry into Fireplace, covering long as well. Sure, Vertical worked his way through and almost got a flank off, but it was still excellent utility placement to get that bomb down. And of course, as you said, the Skies going huge.
Skies going absolutely nuts.
7-0 after the rehost, by the way. 7-0 after the rehost.
I think that's what, 2 rounds?
He might be a little cracked. Might be a little good at the game.
Quad killed the kitchen execute, triple kill then. That's 2 rounds. That is 7 kills. That is ridiculous. Three rounds maybe, because we saw, you know, three deaths on the side of OXG. So we did have another round since that rehost. But point is,
oh well, that completely wipes it out. It doesn't matter anymore.
Skies is insane.
Yeah.
Skies is insane. We get the point.
He's very good. Very good at the game.
And almost out of nowhere, hyping this game up for so long, out of nowhere, SSG not only have a 4-round advantage over OXG, they have match point.
I mean, what do we talk about? We said if anybody can stop the demon that is OXG, the runaway train that is OXG's performance so far, that it could be SSG, and they're within one round range of grabbing that and running forward. Sure, only 4-1, but hey, they'd be tied with OXG at that point for the score, and that's a statement in and of itself with the previous performance that they've had. Going down to the bottom floor this time, starting out on, well, actually not the bottom floor, the middle floor, because we got another mining and dining defense on our hands. Let's see how OXG take this with maybe a spin on what SSG did. We have a couple players up top, one player inside of Freezer, and a Flores coming through for SSG to again open up some of these vertical holes like we saw do a couple times earlier today.
Well, OXG staying patient, making sure SSG are the ones who have to force their way in. But like you said, we've seen OXG attack this site. Now it's time to see them defend it. SSG, they know the weaknesses, at least they should, of this site, given that they like to bring this one out on the defensive side. And as they begin, we're seeing a lot of pressure on the west side of this map. We've got Skies and Hot and Cold approaching there. The Rotero drones out in play. Skies already utilizing 2 of those drones to get a good bit of destruction and likely dealing with some of that utility as they work their way in the building. Up top, Fultz making an entry. Yeah,
we see Fultz making an entry, but also Foxade down below. Coming up Brown now, I believe, who might have to be careful if he wants to do that. We see the attacks now starting to move in, and a dangerous position we saw is once that new bout gets in the hands of the attack, it is hard to exist, period, full stop, inside a pillar or coming up Brown stairs. So Foxade, got to be careful if he wants to do that. But right now, the attack just content on opening up these holes, continuing with their hegemony of the top floor. But beyond that, they are really taking their time right now. Only a minute left. C4 just gone as well, so not to say the utility for the defense is not being expended, but they are really keeping this minimal, just opening up as little holes as they can. It's still a 5v5, but with somebody going down white, could have worked, could have been a big play, but Vertical shuts it down.
Yeah, good start from Vertical, much needed now from Oxygen if they're going to take this one out of SSG's hands at this point. Fultz has been felled, so a great start removing that LMG, and Laxing following that one up onto Hot and Cold, another lethal weapon in this, that F2, dangerous when it comes to that execute, also removed. Another threat OXG do not have to worry about. Rampy hoping to open things up for his team with a nade, and that will do so, removing this key support and the smokes that Dream has in his pocket, but SSG are simply out of time to be indecisive. They have to make a move, and they've got to do it within the next 15 seconds. Flashes come in, and Newers knows he is in a vital position, able to get one, shutting down Bosco. Oxygen collapsing on this site. Rampy tries to make a move and is able to get one kill, but no longer has time to dilly-dally. He'll get 3, but now has to recover the diffuser, and unfortunately, it was out of reach. Newers, having taken down that player, made a quick escape down the hatch, or somebody made a quick escape down the hatch, realizing there was simply no time for SSG to recover that bomb and get it on the ground. OXG stay alive.
Just alive for one more round. But every journey begins with a single step. Maybe this is the beginning of the OXG comeback, and what would be our only overtime of the day. I think it'd be fitting if what is supposed to be the game of the day would be our one and only overtime, but of course we'll have to see if OXG have that in them. Taking mining and dining, taking the offsite, but obviously in this case the offsite has been cocktails, and no team's gone to it again. Still completely unfavored by both of these teams in the lobby right now. So OXG will head back down to Kitchen, where we saw that beautiful K trick by Laxing, something that will certainly be difficult to replicate if SSG are able to or want to go open up that wall again. Based on their lineup right now, unless we see something change, they're chilling with the Hibana, not the Thermo. Oh, well, there we go.
Well, you said difficult to replicate, and keep in mind that for SSG, it's also going to be difficult to replicate that aggression, because
Excellent
OXG
point.
are not, probably not, going to be caught off guard by that full send into the site yet again. I'd imagine that those players who are extended, and we are seeing a couple, are going to be a little bit more, maybe loose on that second floor, a little bit more willing to rotate back when their calls come in.
Yeah, I would not be surprised that everybody's keeping a close eye on that breach. Like, yeah, even if all 5 are on top floor, like, yeah, but what if it opens up? What if, what if something happens?
Yeah, it can never be safe.
Yeah, you can never be too safe. I mean, if we learned anything from Bosco watching the hatch while it's smoked, you can never be too safe. Excellent lesson to learn here. It does appear that SSG, though there are a couple players stationed outside that bakery door, maybe not necessarily that they're going for that direct take, though it's still too early on. They have the lineup to do it. Though Sky's not on the gridlock anymore, is on the Lion. If they want to go for that full clear, it will be a lot easier. Those EE1Ds can help render Vertical very stationary. Fox A2 playing below that skylight, but again, all outside bakery right now.
Yeah, the one thing that really does suggest full bakery is the lack of a Nomad, the lack of that dedicated flank watch, right? No air jabs to set up on that top floor, preventing those rotations back to the site. And now that SSG have opened up that prep wall facing into Kitchen, and now that they are beginning to pressure out the big wall, and the Twitch drone snuck in and took out that Electro Claw. He did it again! He did it again!
Okay. That wasn't even super elite timing right there. That was literally just, he put it down and walked away. Laxing put that so early, and SSG fall for it again, Jonah. The K trick 2 times now. And what do you know? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No hard breachers left. They had a Maverick last time, gave it up, pushed the site, and they don't even have a hard breaching this time. They can't recover, and they're not even sending it in like they did before. They know that OXG are going to read into it. They're going all the way around. To be fair, if they can put enough pressure on coat check and push into VIP, this is still a winnable round. It's still a 5v5, but with not a lot of time, and basically you have to completely change with 1:10 seconds left. It's looking like OXG might get their second step in this journey.
Oxygen really sitting pretty right now. SSG need to just go nuts if they want to win this round. Utility, timing, the way the site and the map control are currently being held by OXG, it is all in the favor of the defense. Nothing working in the favor of the attack right now. Hot and Cold falling is certainly not going to help whatsoever. Bosco trying to recover that, will take down Vertical and take some control, possibly going to get his teammate back up in a second, but Fultz taken down by Laxing, and Newer stepping up to get aggressive here. Really does look like Oxygen are about to turn the tide.
I mean, look at this, completely boxed in right now. 2 stuck in coat check, 1 down, 1 just now pushing out. Only 30 seconds left. OXG have SSG exactly where they want them, pinned and backs against the wall.
Well, Dream is able to get one. Quickly traded again by Bosco, who secures his own double kill, but not reviving his teammate means this is going to be a 2v3 until the remainder of the round. With 15 seconds to go, it is up to Bosco to make a move. He knows that Newers is pressuring from those red stairs, taking this fight and winning it, but Vertical and Foxe, masterful trades. All up to Rampy, quickly fried by Laxing, and Oxygen once again narrow this margin.
Just incredible that Laxing is able to get that K trick off a second time around. I honestly thought, again, we're talking about SSG able to anticipate what their opponents are going to do. Surely once, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice? How the hell are you falling for a K trick 2 times in a row? He literally did it the previous time. I understand you're not going for the vertical. It's a little difficult to counter. Come on, take the exothermic off a little bit. Try to do... I don't know. Honestly, incredible there. But again, because they didn't bring that second hard breach, they opted to go for the Twitch, which helped them get the Electric Claws. It did do that, but it also meant that once they lost those exothermics, like last time, they can't open it. They've got to completely rotate their take now. So actually some mistakes coming out by SSG in round number 10. They're still on match point. Again, they just have to win one more attacking round. They'll go down to reading this time to try to make it work. And hey, I hope they do it.
I mean, it's such a tough balancing act because you're like, okay, Electroclaw trick is coming. Let's get the Twitch drone in there to deal with that Electroclaw.
How do you spend him this time?
Right, and then Laxing just outbrains everybody. Perfect timing on the Electroclaw, and then the Twitch drone can't get it in time. Exothermic charge burned, and then here we are again. SSG this time completely out of hard breach. Another situation that Oxygen played rather masterfully, and SSG, even though they had a counter for it, a couple rounds ago, they could not figure it out in round number 10. So we're still, like you said, on match point. 2 rounds Oxygen need in a row to tie us up.
But we're seeing a couple interesting picks come out. We obviously have the IQ. That's not, super interesting. I think, Jonah, they're going to try to find the black eye cameras with that IQ, if I were to hedge a guess. But something more interesting we're seeing is Hot and Cold going to that OSA. Again, we haven't seen Kafe a lot this stage. So, again, first time we're seeing Kafe. First time we're seeing OSA on Kafe as well. Of course, Foxe always playing in that dangerous position below the skylight. Throwing out that C4, and it misses. Unlucky from Foxe, but I'm interested to see what Hot and Cold does with that OSA later on. If they want to go for a dining plant, it might be easy to say put an OSA shield in that left fireplace wall, or even set one up in red to hold and lock down that long hallway. I think that could be a really good setup if that's the take they're going for.
Yeah, a lot of teams seem to be favoring that fireplace hall
Certainly
push
these two.
rather than that reading take. Obviously, this is the first Kafe we have seen all stage, so not going to get too ahead of ourselves there, but you're right. This is potentially just the perfect storm in terms of that operator selection and exactly what they need to take. We are seeing sub movement on the top floor, though. I do believe that is just Skies working his way into Piano, positioned on stage to set up a couple of air jabs, because it does not look, now that we are just approaching that 90-second mark, that SSG are going to opt for the full clear. Once Oxygen realize that, we should see them pivot and be aware that, Fireplace Hall is about to come under the gun.
Again, OXG, it's match point. They might need to get a little risky, try to set the pace a little bit. I know it feels easy to just hang back and let things happen, but if you're on match point, you might need to take a risk or two to make something work. Of course, we did see an air jab sound, I believe not up, down, long, but at least watching the flank in that area, so Vertical's got to be careful. One on Cocktail as well, so SSG shutting down all those potential avenues, and Foxe goes for that flank. We've talked about how powerful it is, but he's cut down on red stairs this time. Foltz is aware of it, SSG account for it, and now it's OXG on the back foot.
Again, it's Foxe losing his life early, and that is a huge detriment to Oxygen when it comes to this SSG push. They know it's coming soon, and already these smokes are going to have to be expended because the OSA, we see her positioning over in train room, ready to get this wall open, ready to get that shield down. Those smokes in the hand of Dream dwindling.
But we see a lot of presence inside a pillar, actually. Jonah, they might be hitting the back. This door might break open, and they might storm on through in just a second.
There is a Malusi Banshee there to position, so they should be frozen in their tracks. And so Vertical, he knows this. He lines 2 up. Laxing is taken down, but it's 3 for Vertical. Hot and Cold and Skies out to dry on the other side of the map. One beautiful Banshee, one piece of utility, destroying SSG in their tracks. It's a quad for Vertical. He knows he wants that last one. Skies is last alive, and he'll take down New. I think Vertical's going to play this one a little bit more passively, play his life here, and it's Dream who will step up to get that kill. SSG had it all set up. They decide to pivot. They go for the little bamboozle play, and, well, they bamboozled themselves.
I mean, hey, can you really blame them for it? It was a really solid setup. They see OXG are layering all their utility on dining. They're expending smoke canisters. They've got their attention trained towards there. And, hey, not to draw some odd connections, but That's a classic FPL Queens maneuver right there. We talk about Drip's team. It's a little bit more concerted, but what do they do all the time? They send 4 guys one way, 1 guy the other way. Obviously, SSG might be a little step above FPL Queens, but in this case, it is a similar logic. They have Hot and Cold setting up in that area, putting down the Osa shield. It seems pretty obvious, especially based on how SSG were positioned in the early round. They're going for a dining take, and then at the last possible second, of course, partially because of how well the utility placement for OXG was, but also to bamboozle them, as you said, they try to rotate, and what do you know? There's 2 things there, a Banshee and vertical, and that's a recipe for disaster.
That Banshee communicated their position. It froze them in their tracks. The massive alarm essentially went off. Vertical knew what he was going to do when he swung that corner. All he had to do was pre-fire. The 416 in hand. No, it doesn't have the biggest mag in the world, but more than enough to line up an easy triple kill, a nice quad to finish out the round.
Just cuz. Why not?
Just cuz he was feeling good. And OXG clearly feeling good. That is 3 rounds in a row. 1 round away. 1 round away from sending us to OT. They would love to make this comeback, and personally, I would love to see them make it.
Not just OT, Jonah. First OT of the day. What was the closest score beyond this was a 7-4?
Something like that.
OT blows it out of the water completely. And again, for any game, I could not want a better one to have as our first OT of the day. Mining and Dining will be what could be the final attempt by OXG to claw this back and to take us to our first overtime of the day. We'll see how they end up doing it. Again, this side has been a little bit difficult for both these teams on attack and defense to make work. So we'll see if they're able to make it happen. And what SSG going for? But we see a big pick coming up by SSG. Big attacker repick. Hot and Cold, who's been not having the best half since the rehost, switches to the Ying. This could be quick or it could be slow, but then they strike in the late round.
Well, I wanted to talk about Mining a little bit because this is the only site that has had a flawless defensive rotation so far. SSG going here twice, Oxygen going here once. So far, the defense has not been felled, and unusual to say on a weird site like Mining.
It is a little bit curious. The rounds have gone back and forth inside of them, but as you said, flawless for the defense going into this. An excellent point. Maybe the Candela is what's necessary. They're already all going out, and this might be a quick one, Jonah.
Yeah, they're just blitzing on in. A knife kill onto Dream, humiliating OXG to start. Newers is back, but Skies is here to put SSG over the edge. The timeout, they decide to go for the rush, and it is working. Vertical gets taken down. Laxing last alive in a 1 versus 4. Bosco getting this bomb down, and just like that, SSG put themselves over the top. They knew Mining was coming. They drew it up in the timeout. They sent it in, and boy, did it work.
You might not be far off with that one. They genuinely might have, during that timeout, knowing that Mining was coming up, been like, okay, let's run the Ying. You know what? It's round 12. I'm sure they would have loved to go into overtime, too. They're a fan of close games as competitors, but finishing off in that fashion, that explosive fashion that SSG did, I'm more than satisfied with what we saw. And again, especially by that call made to just take the site immediately. Jonah, I'm happy to say, was not disappointed by this game.
This was the banger that we thought it would be. And oh my God, I wanted that to go to OT
I did
so
too.
bad.
I did too.
SSG, they outbrained it, they drew it up, and it looked gorgeous. The knife kill as well to kick off the round was
was incredible.
Was just another knife in the back of OXG.
It's one of, I see what you did there. It's one of those things that it wasn't necessary. You didn't have to start off with the knife kill, just a little cherry on top.
It was really just a beautiful way to cap it off, and OXG have been delivered their very first loss of the season. They still, due to the point distribution, they still sit above SSG in the overall leaderboard. They do have 12 points right now, and with the 3 points that SSG will get from this, they will have, 11 points now, moving up from their 8-point tally. So they will be sitting firmly, I believe, in second place or tied with Astralis, right up in that position.
Either way, point being, points for a second, I mean, obviously it matters, but like it doesn't matter right now. OXG have taken their first L, and now SSG have the exact same record as OXG, so somebody can stop them. In this case, it was SSG. Now we've got a big test going forward. SSG took them down. Now who else wants to be like SSG? That's the thing we have to see in the back half of this stage.
Right, and SSG, is this that path to the future? Are they going to conclude the stage with as much success as we've seen Oxygen have in the first few play days? But enough from us. We're going to pass it over to our analyst desk one last time for the day. Before we get there, we are going to take a quick break, so do not go anywhere. We'll be right back, our analyst desk, to break this one down.
Well, it looks like they might be able to keep that title of Best of One Kings for just a little bit longer as Spacestation knock off the formerly undefeated Oxygen Esports in a barn burner, like Jesse said, because we just had to get that word out of the way, on Kafe, 7-5, right before OXG managed to complete the comeback and force things to overtime. And we're talking to Rampy live from Las Vegas to go over how this one transpired. Dude, congratulations on the win. I gotta know, that timeout right after round 11 was done, and then you guys just decided to full sprint into sight. What was the thought process in that timeout? How did you know that was the play you wanted to go for?
You know, we scrimmed OXG on Kafe about like a month or so ago. So we know some things, and we have our plays and SSG VOD stuff that we go through, and we knew that we could hit that. And yeah, you know, we just said, you know, let's go for it on the last round, and we caught him off guard with it. So it's kind of just like a feeling for us almost, but we are very prepared, so we know when to not make those plays.
Well, it's clearly the right decision at that moment. I was talking with Hopes the other night, and he told me that the scariest thing about your team was how at any point in time you could turn a bad situation into a good one. I think we saw that a couple of times in this matchup. What is it about your team? How do you take a bad spot, like, say, when your hard breach gets Electro Clawed trick? How do you turn that into something good?
You know, I think it's just like the roster that we have. I feel like everybody's just so just strong, like mechanical skills, and just individually has played the game for so long, all of us. And being able to have that experience, I feel like we can make certain plays happen, and being able to work trades efficiently like we do, I feel like. And like our teamwork, our comms are very clean. So being able to like kind of just finding gaps, and I think Matt, or Hot and Cold, finds gaps pretty well, and we try to use like him to kind of sneak in those spots, and we'll try to take the control off that. But yeah, I think it's mostly just because the chemistry is really strong, and being able to just kind of, as soon as we take a pick, we go with it, and being able to trust each other's calls, it's a lot, you know?
Yeah, and so you were talking about all the things that you were prepared for with this game, but there's one thing that you kind of couldn't be prepared for, and that was all the tech issues. How was it like kind of trying to keep momentum and keeping your heads nice, calm through all those issues?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, at first it kind of helped us because we started down 1-2, so being able to kind of reset us a little bit and kind of get us back into it. So I guess it worked against OXG at the start. But yeah, it's a thing that we just, you know, you kind of have to just go through and just stay positive and never let it affect you. Especially Alex was getting really unlucky with everything that was happening before our match started. So, you know, we just have to keep a level head and just keep working together. And you know, you can't let outside stuff affect your in-game. You know, you don't want to lose a game and just have an excuse for, you know, tech issues. You need to be able to fight through it no matter what, and that's what we did.
Rampy, if you don't mind, get a little bit personal with me for a second. Obviously, you've got 5 games under your belt now for stage 1, but do you think you still have a bit of a chip on your shoulder from the way that your result at SI 2022 kind of turned out? Was obviously not the result that you were hoping for, first NA team out of the pool, but now there's more momentum kind of building up. It seems like you're back into the groove that you wanted to be in from the end of last season. So what's your headspace at right now?
I mean, yeah, we definitely have a chip on our shoulder, and it's not done yet. I mean, job isn't finished. We have a lot more to prove, and we have to prove a lot of people, you know, way more than this. Like BO1s and NAL, it's really, I mean, every game's it's competitive, but nothing matters until we get to the major, you know. And obviously, you got to win your BO1s, so we got to go through all of NAL first, and then, you know, we'll take on the major after that if we make it, you know. So it's just one step at a time, and you just gotta keep pushing, and the goal is to prove everybody wrong. So.
All right, brother. Well, you are well on your way to actually accomplishing that goal. Again, congratulations on the dub today. We'll see you again in the arena tomorrow, and hopefully you'll be able to keep this kind of streak going. So congratulations, and we'll see you later.
Thank you. See you guys.
All right. So no more undefeated team in the NAL. That's kind of been decided. No more winless team in the NAL after today. Ooh. So we've kind of anyone that had a 0 somewhere in their scoreline has now been evaporated, so to speak.
Jacob, we took the already ridiculously competitive NAL and we decided we got to make it even more competitive. Take the top guys, the bottom guys, push them together. Perfect.
So statistically, why don't we take a look at those and see if those were also as close as we reckon they were, because we did have that rehost after the 3rd round, which means we have to figure out where everyone stands collectively, and it's Sky's leading the way yet again. That switch off hard breach to flank watch looks like it's working wonders for this team currently.
Yeah, and in that interview, we heard that he was having troubles at the beginning of the game. I mean, hey, we saw in that potential clutch position where he was just kind of running in place because he kept on lagging out.
Yeah.
Imagine what that could have been like. If he got the proper T-hunts, he actually got to play the first couple of rounds. That could be even bigger numbers, but more than anything, keeping the head cool, keeping the head calm, and making sure that you can kind of overcome that and not get tilted. Absolutely amazing stuff, veteran, like Skies. Always going to be able to do that.
This wasn't a game where it felt like anybody was struggling. It felt like all 10 players on the server were having their moments. They were able to have an impact. Looking at even the auction side, you got Dream and Laxing, the support duo down at the bottom of the board, but I still thought they both played fantastic. Laxing had some really cool stuff. The Kaid trick's not going to show up on a stat line, but still very important for your round. And Dream doing what he always does, getting those plants down, helping out on support. I still thought that he played a pretty good game here. So strong matchup for everybody. Obviously a little bit better from SSG, able to take those bad rounds, turn them into good ones, but hey, that's what it takes sometimes.
It kind of feels like this was a game that, because it got shortened due to the tech delay, almost felt like it was a brand new game. As soon as we were done with those first three, it kind of got a chance for SSG to get some new life into the picture, and they just had to play a game until all they won was 6 rounds as opposed to 7, because they'd already gotten that one before the rehost started, and it almost felt like OXG came in disadvantaged because they couldn't get anything going. SSG just started that bad boy off and immediately got rounds under their belt. And one of them that we did want to focus on is round number 5, because this was a really interesting retake idea, and it happened right as OXG were kind of scrambling for any momentum at this point.
This is going to be a mining defense from Spacestation Gaming, and I really liked how it was because it's almost it's a fly trap, right? You're baiting the enemy team to come into your bomb site. There's Fox just charging through one bomb site now in train, taking down Skies. Really nice that he's able to get so deep in there. He thinks, look, I've got all this free real estate, team, come in. But unfortunately, Dream has died at this point and dropped the kit in the bomb site still. So they're struggling because they still need to pick up that kit, which is currently inside, I believe it's upstairs there. So Fox has got a long ways to go to be able to grab it. It's right there inside of the mining doorway. Rampy's able to come back, and now watch what SSG do. They're going to come down all from reading and from above the bomb site. One guy coming down red, a couple people dropping in from the skylight as well, from the balcony. And now Faltz is able to take down Fox. You're left with vertical in a 1v4, nowhere near the kit. Faltz knows where he's at, and he's not going to get to the defuse kit from all the way over there. He's running across the roof, but he can't make it in time. Beautiful little strategy where they say, sure, come on into our bomb site, come on, take a look, see what you like. Oh, it's a trap. You're all dead.
Yeah, and in our pre-segment, we were like, yes, SSG, they really know how to find the holes. They really know how to go in and take advantage of any gaps in a defense. And then SSG fakes a gap in a defense and completely bamboozles Oxygen.
But one of the things you're talking about with Rampy in the interview, how do you deal with the Kaid trick on Bakery Wall? How do you deal with not having any exothermics left? And there were 2 situations in which that happened, but the first one I want to take a look at is round number 7, where they just decide, well, we can't breach the wall, so what are we going to do? Bomb rush our way into sight and see if we can't kill everybody. And what do you know, it worked. Yeah,
it was actually phenomenal in how quick of a turnaround it is too. All of a sudden, hey, let's put down the exothermic charge, and wait, it didn't blow up. There's no explosion. We can't go through. What should we do as a team? Okay, let's just push on in. We're gonna go in, take the bomb site as soon as just the orange bodies start flying, because with the side of Oxygen, there's still people up above. They have read that yes, this is a direct take into Bakery, but they don't know it's this direct of a direct take. This is all the way through, taking control of all the potential ways back into the bomb site, double door, the hatch drop inside of kitchen. All of that's under locks, and the diffuser's down.
Yeah, Fox going as deep as he went there was huge for Auction's success. Being able to get all the way into Kafe, deny that freezer angle, means that it's so much space that Oxygen have lost to the attackers of Spacestation Gaming, who have made this call to get in deep, to go plant up there in the northwest corner, which is exactly what they've managed to do. Bosco got that down, and now he and Skies are alone in the 2v2, but the time is all on their side. Sure, Skies is alone, but all he's got to do is delay these guys a little bit, back off, don't let them fight you. You know one's on kit, take the 1v1. A little risky, could have lost that, but beautifully done by Skies regardless. And you got to give so much credit to Bosco for making that call. As soon as you see the exothermic not go off, panic ensues, screw it, let's run in. And there was somebody in train who could have watched that angle.
Exactly.
Just missed it.
Look at Skies out here legitimizing gridlock in more people's eyes. For those of you who didn't know, he ran this on border before against Astralis in the absence of a Nomad because she was banned out. In this case, Nomad was still up, decided to still pick gridlock anyway. If you're not playing her for some reason, what did you say in the green room? Top 5 gun on attack?
It's a very good
That's
gun.
pretty accurate.
Yes, it's a very underrated weapon. And meaning, hey, if you don't need to use her gridlock track stingers for flank watch, just use them for burn.
Yeah, I mean, this is actually something that Skies talked about in his interview last week. He talked about how like a lot of flank watches these days are kind of over-reliant on Nomad.
Yeah.
Flex in some gridlock, some other operators in there, hey, it can do wonders.
Well, while we're on the topic of Skies, normally at this point we'd probably have you guys guess about who the MVP of the day is, but I'm actually just going to leave it right where it is. Skies is our MVP of Playday number 5. The man had a great game, and that was in spite of a tech problem on round number 3 where he completely glitched out, and instead he pulls this performance from essentially nowhere.
Skies right now overall has the 2nd highest rating on defense. After this game, he might have pushed it to the highest. He's got some great site play. Started off with a 4K against TSM in Oregon and had amazing matches, or rounds even in this match here. And he does it so well on so many different operators. Coming into this Playday, he had more defensive operators played than any other player in the league, tied with Hot and Cold, his teammate, I should say. So congratulations to Alex. 2.17, very well deserved.
I'm trying to figure out if this is the first time we've had someone from Spacestation actually get a Playday MVP award.
This stage,
I
for
think
sure.
it is this stage.
Yeah, first one this stage.
All right, look at him go. Anything to say, Connor?
I just think it's really impressive that even on a role that's quote unquote a role nowadays with flank watch, he's still finding ways to get involved with multiple different operators. Used to be just a couple of seasons ago, flank watch was put down your air jabs, hold an angle, toggle some
Maybe a
drones.
Claymore if you've got one.
Maybe a Claymore if you've got one, but nowadays it's, you know, rotate in the gridlock, have a lot of extra burn, maybe in the fragging capability, the Lion, pinching with your team, getting active. You can even throw in the Jackal in conjunction with other operators. It's been really fun to watch.
So, now that we've got that win under our belts,